Sri Sachidananda Sadguru Sainath Maharaj Ki Jai. Sai Baba the Master by Parama Pujya Acharya Sri Kirala Bharadwaja Garu. The Call of the Guru. It is said in most of the Indian scriptures that in order to attain the final realization, it is necessary to resort to a guru. The Sufis too attach great reverence to the Murshid, Guru, and I believe the same ideas underlines Jesus Christ's words. No one can come to the Father except through me. This is a truth which represents a particular angle of vision. Those who are not ripe enough to understand the truth implied herein have a doubt as to how one could be sure whether a particular holy man is a worthy guide or not. The one unfailing solution to the problem was given by great ones like Kabir, who says that we need not run in search of the Guru, that he would come to us if and when we are ready to receive him. Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi also often told his devotees that though God, Guru, and the Self are the one, when a seeker needs a Guru in the human form, the Lord does appear to him in that form to turn his mind inward. There are many there are very many instances in which Sai Baba played the role of the Guru in human form and led the seeker to himself. Sometimes the seeker was led to him by Baba himself in his own person, and sometimes by a deity which the seeker worshipped devotedly. Sometimes another great saint had led the devotees to him. However, it is not to be supposed that everyone that is led to the Sadguru is bound to become perfect in this life itself. Everyone derives benefit according to the ripeness of his soul and in accordance with his inner yearning. Many of them take lives of inner development, and in each, the Sadguru lifts him onto the higher level. In some, this development may not manifest to themselves. We shall now proceed to note how several of his devotees were drawn to Sri Sai Baba. M.G. Pradhan, a clerk of Bombay, had lost his 7-year-old son and was much upset. He heard of Sai Baba from one of his friends. One night he had a dream in which he saw 5 sadhus seated together. He asked them, "Which of you is Sai Baba?" One of them pointed to Sai Baba, who was seated among the other 4 sadhus. Later, when he visited Shirdi, he was surprised to see that Sri Sai Baba looked exactly as he did in his dream. He even revealed that he knew Pradhan quite well by describing his house in Bombay, his garden, and the number of Ramaphal and Sitaphal trees in it very accurately. He then said to some of the devotees present at the masjid about Pradhan, "Why does the fool go on lamenting the death of his son? It is merely going to the earth. Why go on lamenting that?" Mrs. and Mr. Pradhan were henceforth devoted to Sai Baba, but a learned Pandit Madhav Bhatt, who was attached to their family and who did puja and mantra japa for their benefit, was at heart unhappy that the Hindu couple should worship Sai Baba, who he thought was a Muslim. When Babu, their son, was once seriously ill, he attributed to the wrath of the Hindu gods for their error. Later one night, he had a dream in which he saw Sai Baba seated on top of their staircase, holding a short staff, satka. Baba said, "What do you mean? I am the lord of this house." Madhav Bhatt kept the dream to himself. Later, when Babu's condition worsened in spite of Bhatt's japa, the latter ran to Baba's photograph and loudly prayed, "If the child should improve sufficiently by 4 p.m. today as to be brought downstairs, then I'll agree that you are Lord Dattatreya." Soon after, the fever subsided, and by 4 p.m., the boy wanted to be taken downstairs for a change. Madhav Bhatt was convinced that Sai Baba was Lord Dattatreya himself and was henceforth devoted to him. D.M. Mulgi of Gadag was an atheist and did not believe in Baba, nor did he care to see his picture, which his brother worshipped. In 1916, he fell seriously ill. One night, an old man wearing a long white kafni and a white cloth tied around his head and appeared in his dream and told him that his fever would pass off soon if he promised to go for the old man's darshan. Mulgi promised to do so, and the old man disappeared. The dream so frightened him that he cried out. His sister-in-law ran to his bedside, woke him up, and on hearing of his dream, showed him the picture of Baba. Mulgi was convinced that Sai Baba himself had appeared in his dream. The fever subsided, and he was all right in a short time. Later, when he visited Shirdi, he was struck by Baba's exact likeness. likeness to the old man that had appeared in his dream. M.B. Rege was very devoted to Lord Vishnu from his boyhood. Even from his younger days, he used to sit for long in one yogic posture, meditating on his chosen deity. In his 21st year, about 1910, he had three successive dream visions in one night. At first, he experienced his separation from his physical body, and before him was the divine form of Lord Vishnu. A second time, the same vision recurred, but this time there was someone else standing beside him. Lord Vishnu pointed to that stranger and said, "This Sai Baba of Shirdi is your man. You must resort to him." In the third vision, he again left his physical body and drifted into the air to some village. There, a stranger told him that it was Shirdi. Then he inquired whether there was a holy man by name Sai Baba in that village. The stranger led him to the mosque where Rege saw Sai Baba seated leaning against its wall with his legs stretched before him. On seeing Rege, Sai Baba got up and said, "Do you take my darshan? I am your debtor. I must take your darshan," and placed his head reverently on Rege's feet. Then the vision ended. Though he saw Sai Baba's picture earlier, he never knew that Sai Baba's most characteristic manner of sitting was with his legs stretched out before him. Shortly after, Rege went to Shirdi to verify whether Baba was his destined guru, as the dream seemed to indicate. When he actually saw Baba, a doubt arose in his mind whether it would be proper to worship a man like him. At once, Baba said, "What? Do you worship a man?" The rebuff was keen and to the point. When every other devotee retired to his room, Rege made bold to visit Sai, though it was thought that no one should visit at that hour. Baba, far from getting angry, beckoned to him. Rege approached him and bowed in reverence. At once, Sai Baba hugged him with love and said, "You are my child. When others, that is strangers, are present, we, saints like me, keep off the children." Thus was the man's dream confirmed. On another afternoon, Baba embraced him and said, "The key of my treasury is now placed in your hands. Ask anything you want." Then Baba said, shrewd Rege, "I want this. In this and in any future birth that may befall me, you should never part from me. You should always be with me." Baba patted him joyously and said, "Yes, I shall be with you, inside you and outside you, whatever you may be or do." There is one instance to show how when Rege's heart was yielding to some other love, Baba asserted his monopoly over it. Many years later, Rege's child died and his wife was disconsolate. With the dead child in his lap, Rege sat with a grief-stricken heart. Baba at once appeared before him and said, "Do you want me or the dead child? Choose. You cannot have both. If you want me to revive the child, I will. But then you will have me no more with you. If you do not ask for the revival of this one, you will have several children in due course." Then Rege said that he wanted him only. "Then do not grieve," Baba said, and vanished. Another confirmation that he was Baba's man once he visited a great saint in Pune named Sri Madhavanath. The later said, "You are Sai Baba's man." In 1912, Rege visited Baba on the holy Guru Purnima day. Seeing other devotees offering garlands and other gifts to Baba, he regretted that he did not remember to get any gift. At once, Baba said, "All these are yours," and pointed at garlands offered by other devotees. Thereby, Baba hinted that the heart's loving wish to offer is of greater value than a formal physical offering. Tosser was an employee in the customs department. In 1985, he had a dream in which he saw a holy man and considered him as his guru. In 1910, he learned about Sai Baba and his greatness from Das Ganu's kirtans and immediately proceeded to Shirdi. He was thrilled to find that Sai Baba was the guru that appeared to him in 1895. After Sai Baba's Mahasamadhi, Tosar became a disciple of the great saint Sri Vasudevananda Saraswati alias Tembe Swami. Later, he took sannyas and was known by the name Sri Narayana Ashram. Bala Bhatt Bala Bhate was a free-thinking, merry-go-lucky type of man. He was a Mamaltdar at Kopargaon for 5 years from 1904 to 1909. He used to say that Baba was just a mad fakir and scoffed at those who visited Shirdi often. Once some of his friends suggested that he should rather go and see Baba before forming his opinion of him. So he accompanied them to Shirdi and stayed there for 5 days. On the fifth day, Sai Baba covered him with a gerua or kashaya ochre robe. From that day, Bhate was a changed man. He did not care for earnings or work, and his only wish was to be at Shirdi and serve Baba till the last moment of his life. Sai Baba made Dikshit write an application for leave for 1 year and persuaded Bhate to sign it. The district collector granted him leave for 1 year, but at the end of the year he still continued to be mad after his guru. He was granted a compassionate pension of about 30 rupees per month as one afflicted with religious melancholia. When his friends asked him the reason for his transformation, he told them that the change came in him suddenly when Baba put the Geru on him. By that, he said, my original frame of mind was removed and in its place quite a new frame of mind was put in. After that, attending to worldly duties, especially official duties, became unthinkable. He then lived at Shirdi, attending to his daily austerities like Upanishad reading in the presence of Sai Baba and so on. Occasionally, Sai Baba offered useful comments on that reading, but his wife and family came to Shirdi and lived with him. The transformation of Bhate reminds us of the effect of Sri Ramakrishna's touch on Sri Vivekananda, the effect of death experience on Sri Ramana in his 16th year, and the effect of the Guru's touch on the boy Tajuddin, who later became famous as Hazrat Tajuddin Baba of Nagpur. Such perfect bhakti and his incapacity to attend to the merely breadwinning official duties shows that he experienced certain higher form of samadhi and some of his higher chakras. To put it in yogic terminology, must have been awakened. It is obvious that here in Bhate is one of those very few that deserved something which Baba earned to bestow on his devotees. Balakrishna Govinda Upasani was a professor of Sanskrit in Pune and was a brother of Sri Upasani Baba. Once his college was closed owing to the outbreak of plague and he went on a pilgrimage to Haridwar and Tapovan along with his mother. There he met a sadhu who stared at him and asked him if he was from Satana in Maharashtra. When that was confirmed, the sadhu told him to visit him again the next day in the afternoon. His mother too accompanied him the next day, but a search of for 15 minutes for the sadhu did not prove fruitful. As soon as Balakrishna's mother went home disappointed, the sadhu at once appeared before him and said, do not act in this manner again. Only those who are asked to come should come. Then the sadhu said that he had given a saligram, a sacred stone, to one Uddhav Maharaj, whose grandson gave it to grandfather of Balakrishna, and that it was being worshipped by Balakrishna himself. From this, we can understand how old the sadhu must have been. Then, switching over from Marathi to Hindustani, the sadhu said, lo, there was a tree. Two persons went up that tree. One came down, the other went up. You will come to know. The sadhu looked about 60 years old, a bit stout, and had nothing but a kaupina, a codpiece. Later, in 1910, Balakrishna's brother developed some respiratory trouble during the practice of yoga and left his home. So Balakrishna started in search for him. When the train stopped at Kopargaon, a friend named Bhatt met him on the railway platform and told him that a great saint, Sai Baba, lived only a few miles away and persuaded him to break his journey. He even sent Balakrishna to Shirdi by Tonga or horse coach. On seeing him, Baba said, go to the Kandoba. Balakrishna thought that Baba wanted him to see the idol in the shrine and said that Baba was all the gods and therefore there was no more need for him to go to the temple. But Baba repeated his order. So the visitor thought that Baba wanted him to go out. When he did, someone told him that one Upashani Shastri stayed at the Kandhoba's temple. Balakrishna at once went there and found his brother who was staying there on Baba's orders. Afterwards, when Balakrishna returned to the mosque, Baba stared at him and said in Hindustani, lo, there was a tree. Two persons went up the tree, one came down, The other went up. Balakrishna was amazed on hearing Baba utter precisely the same words as were used by the sadhu at Tapovan years earlier. Then he noted that Baba did resemble the Tapovan sadhu, though their dress was different. The master met his devotee far ahead of the devotee, seeing him and gave him a clue to identify him when he, the devotee, meets him again at Shirdi. Shevde was confident of passing the law examination in spite of his inadequate study, as he had the blessing of Sai Baba. His friend Sapatnekar laughed at his superstitious sentiments. In due course, Sapatnekar himself settled at Akkalkot as a lawyer. 10 years after, in 1913, he lost his only son and was much depressed. Pilgrimages to Pandharpur and Gangapur did not give him any solace. One day he remembered Shevde's reference to Sai Baba and went to Shirdi along with his brother Pandit Rao and was much pleased on seeing Baba. When he placed a coconut before Baba and bowed to him, Baba brusquely said, "Get out." Sapatnekar was mortified and sat at a distance. Later he sought a fellow devotee's help to pacify Baba and gain access to him. The devotee Bala Shimpi, in one of Baba's lighter moods, took a picture of Baba with him and showing it to Baba asked him whose portrait it was. Baba pointed to Sapatnekar and said that the picture was that of his, that is Sapatnekar's lover, and laughed supportively, and all the devotees shared the joke. Bala Shimpi beckoned to Sapatnekar to approach Baba. When Sapatnekar bowed before Baba, the latter again briskly said, "Get out." Both the visitor and Bala Shimpi were disappointed. 1 year passed, during which a few more pilgrimages did nothing to console the Sapatnekars. Finally, they decided to visit Banaras. The night before they started, Mrs. Sapatnekar had a dream. She was going to a well, with a pitcher to fetch drinking water. She saw a fakir with a cloth tied around his head seated under a neem tree. The fakir approached her and said, "My child, I shall fetch water for you." She was frightened and moved away, and the fakir followed her. At that juncture, she woke up and narrated her dream to her husband. They took this to be an invitation from Baba and they went to Shirdi. Mrs. Sapatnekar saw Sai Baba, who was returning to the mosque from Lendi, and was surprised to see that he was the fakir that appeared in her dream. When Baba took his seat in the mosque, she bowed to him. Baba said in his characteristic veiled manner, "My arms, abdomen, and waist have been paining for a long time. I tried many medicines in vain, but to my utter surprise, all the pains have just now disappeared mysteriously." Indeed, it was Mrs. Sapatnekar's story. She was just at that moment cured of all the obstinate pains from which she had been suffering for a long time. She was amazed at Baba's omniscience and such powers as would cure ailments with a word. Hoping that Baba was in a jolly mood, Sapatnekar went and bowed to Baba. Baba shouted, "Get out." This time Sapatnekar understood that he was angry at his past misdeeds and decided to win his grace. He saw Baba when he was alone and touched his feet with his head. Baba did not shout but put his loving hand on the visitor's head. Then a shepherdess came and sat massaging Sai Baba's waist. Baba narrated a story in his characteristic vein of a baniya, a merchant, the trials and tribulations of his life. It was indeed a veiled account of Sapatnekar's life. Then Baba said to the shepherdess, pointing at Sapatnekar, "This fellow says that I, that is God, had killed his child. Do I kill anyone's children? Why does this fellow cry even after stepping into this masjid? Now I will again place this very child in his wife's womb." He blessed Sapatnekar. Sapatnekar gratefully bowed and touched Baba's feet, and Baba assured him, "These feet are ageless and holy. Place your entire faith in me and you will achieve your object." The Sapatnekars stayed at Shirdi for a few days. Every day they used to offer Naivedya, offering of food to Baba, and then took it as his prasad, consecrated gift. One day, seeing Sapatnekar pushing in crowd to bow him, Sai Baba said, "Why do you prostrate yourself again and again? The one salutation you have already made with love and humility is enough." The next day, Sapatnekar wanted to take leave of Baba to return to Akkalkot. While starting from the Dwarka Mai, he wanted to give 1 rupee to Baba as Dakshina, kept 1 more rupee in reserve to offer if Baba asked a second time. He set apart the money from his return fares He set apart the money for his return phase. When he went to Dwarka, Mai Baba received the 1 rupee that Sapatnekar gave and asked for 1 more rupee as per his intention. Receiving them, Baba blessed him, saying, "Take this coconut and give it to your wife. Go home happily." Within a year, Sapatnekar had a son and he visited Baba again with his wife and child. Sai Baba used to say, "I draw my man to me wherever and however far he might be, like a sparrow with a string tied to its legs." How graphic is the description and how literally true it is in the case of Kaka Sahib Dikshit. Kaka Sahib, a famous lawyer of Bombay, once met his old friend Nana Sahib Chandorkar and told him how his leg bone was fractured when he fell while boarding train in London. Nana Sahib promptly advised him to visit Sai Baba. Shortly after, Kaka Sahib had to go to Ahmednagar. After his work was done, he wished to visit Shirdi. When his host was still thinking of a proper person to take him to Shirdi, Baba was making all arrangements to draw his devotee to him in his mysterious manner. Sharma had to go to Ahmednagar along with his wife to see his mother-in-law who was seriously ill. Kaka Sahib's host met him there and requested him to take their guest to Shirdi. Sharma's mother-in-law soon recovered. Just when they were about to start, his host unveiled the portrait of Baba which was in their house. It belonged to Megha, and as the glass was broken, it was sent to Ahmednagar for reframing. It was reframed, and it, or rather Sai himself, along with his principal devotee, were to take Kaka to Shirdi. The train arrived in time, but the second class bogie was overcrowded. When the party was a little worried about securing accommodation, the railway guard met them, and he was an old acquaintance of Kaka Sahib. He promptly put them in first class carriage, and Kaka had a comfortable journey. On seeing Sai Baba, Kaka Sahib found that all his expectation had been more than fulfilled. On seeing Kaka, Sai Baba said that he was awaiting his arrival. If some of the readers are disposed to treat the whole episode as a mere coincidence, there is another instance to show that it was indeed a part of Baba's Leela. Kakaji Vaidya, the priest in the temple of goddess Saptashringi at Vani, had a series of calamities in life. He had lost all peace of mind and sought the protection of the goddess. One night she appeared in his dream and said, "Go to Baba and then you will gain peace." In those days, Sai Baba was not yet so well known, so Kakaji wanted to know from her who he was. But before he did, she had disappeared. He thought that she directed him to Lord Shiva at Triambakeshwar. So he went there and worshipped the deity for 10 days, but to no purpose. In despair, he returned and again prayed fervently for clearer guidance. That night, the goddess appeared in his dream and said, "Why did you go to Triambakeshwar? By Baba, I mean Sri Sai Samarth of Shirdi." Kakaji did not know where Shirdi was and how to go there, and none could guide him. Baba's omniscient gaze noticed the sparrow's longing, and his invisible hand promptly arranged the situation needed. A great astrologer who arrived at Shirdi told Shama that the oaths of his mother to goddess Shaptashrundi were not fulfilled, and the family troubles were all a sequel of that breach of a promise. Shama was reminded of what his dying mother told him 30 years earlier. When in his childhood Shama was seriously ill, she vowed to goddess Saptashringi at Vani that if he recovered, she would take the child for her darshan. The child recovered, but she could not fulfill her vow. After some time, she suffered from ringworms on her breast, which defied all medical treatment. Then she again vowed to the same goddess that if she was cured of her ailment, she would offer a pair of silver breasts. She was cured, and again she failed to fulfill her vows. On her deathbed, she took a promise from Shama that he would fulfill her vows. The son was also neglected his promise for nearly 30 years. Shama also heard that once a person has surrendered to a guru like Sai Baba, he must henceforth see all gods in the guru. So he promptly got a pair of silver breasts made by a goldsmith, prostrated before Baba, and begged him to accept the gifts and relieve him and his mother of their oaths to goddess Saptashringi. Baba was very particular in such matters. At the time when Shama's mother made the vows, Baba was not at Shirdi and she meant her vows only for the particular deity. Now neither Shama nor he can properly modify the same, so he insisted on Shama going to Vani and fulfilling the two vows. Baba alone knew that this visit had another purpose to serve in his mysterious scheme. Shama promptly arrived at Kakaji's house. After knowing his purpose, Kakaji was thrilled with joy when he learned that there came to him, uninvited and unsought, a man from Sai Baba, precisely at a moment when he himself was dying to know where Shirdi was. Shama's purpose fulfilled, he took Kakaji with him to Sai Baba. On seeing Baba, he prostrated before Baba and was speechless with joy. He wondered to see that the goddess words were literally true. He had to say nothing to Baba about his sufferings. The very sight of Baba made his mind calm and peaceful. After 12 days, he returned to Vani, but his heart was even after in the procession of Baba. Here too, Sai Baba sent his principal devotee to fetch the other sheep of his vast flock. Ram Lal, a Brahmin of Bombay, once saw in his dream an odd-looking saint. The spiritual magnetism of the Holy One was so striking, he at once decided to take darshan of the saint, but he knew little about the saint or his whereabouts. Yet, the next afternoon, when he was strolling along a street, an exact portrait of the saint was placed prominently in a shop. He inquired and was told that he was Sai Baba of Shirdi. He at once visited Shirdi and took Baba's darshan and stayed on there till his death. Balaram Mankar, a devotee of Baba, was dejected when he lost his dear wife. Entrusting the family to his son, he came and lived at Shirdi. One day, Baba gave him 12 rupees and told him to go and stay at holy Machindragarh in Satara district and told him that it would help him much spiritually. Baba sent Mankar with the instruction that he should practice meditation thrice daily and assured him of his Baba's presence with him there. At Machindragarh, Mankar, with great faith, put Baba's instruction into practice. After some days, one day when Mankar was quite awake, Sai Baba appeared before him physically. Mankar bowed to him at once and even touched his feet. Then he asked Baba why he was sent to Machindragarh. Baba replied, when you were at Shirdi, your mind was getting disturbed by thoughts. You were developing the erroneous view that I am identical with my physical body, which is confined to Shirdi. Now see whether this form of mine is in any way less real than my form at Shirdi. It is to demonstrate the truth about me that I have sent you here. Later, Mankar went to Pune. One day, Mankar wished to go to Dadar. The crowds were too big at the railway counter, and there seemed little hope of his getting a ticket in time. Suddenly, a villager clothed only in his loincloth and wrapped in a coarse wool garment approached him and, inquiring of Mankar's destination, handed him a ticket to Dadar and said that as he himself dropped his intended journey to Dadar, he was willing to give the ticket to him, that is to Mankar. Before Mankar could pay for it, the man disappeared in the crowd and could not be found anywhere. From Dadar, Mankar went to Shirdi and lived there till the end of his life. All the devotees are not cast in the same mold, yet a guru, like a mother, responds with equal love to their different demands. Some of Baba's devotees were demanding in their attitude. Usually, it is a master that says to the devotee, if you take one step towards me, I shall take two towards you. But with Baba, at least in some phases, it seemed the other way around. Some people were prepared to believe in him only if their conditions were satisfied. When Tatya Sahib Nolkar was a subject at Pandarpur, Nana Sahib Chandorkar told him about Baba's greatness and advised him to visit Shirdi. Nolkar at once put two tests to Baba's grace. He said he would go to Shirdi only if he could secure a Brahmin cook and a good variety of Nagpur oranges as offering to Baba. Shortly after, a Brahmin approached Nana Sahib Chandorkar seeking employment. He promptly directed the Brahmin to Nulkar, who realized that his first condition was fulfilled. Shortly, Nulkar also received 100 oranges from Nagpur as a gift by parcel, the sender being mysteriously unknown. Nothing then held him back from rushing to Baba. He lived in Baba's presence and passed away too. During last moments of his life, sacred scriptures were read out to him, and holy water in which Baba's feet were washed was given to him for drinking. On hearing about his death, Baba said, "Oh, Tatya went ahead of us. He won't be reborn." All the devotees that were drawn to Baba do not derive the same benefit, nor would a God man violate all laws of natural justice of God to benefit anyone beyond his capacity to be benefited. But no one will be allowed to fall to a lower level, and the maximum possible benefit would be conferred on every devotee by the saint. Vijayanand was a sannyasi from Madras. Vijayanand was a sannyasi from Madras. On his way to Lake Manasarovar in the Himalayas, he heard of Baba's greatness and sojourned at Shirdi. There he met one Somadeva Swami, a sannyasi from Haridwar, who spoke of the great hardships one has to face in a trek to Manasarovar. Vijayanand at once gave up in his intention to go there. Later, when he went to Dwarka Mai, Baba flew into a rage and yelled, "Drive off this unworthy sannyasi." Baba was right, for the fear of discomfort showed the unripeness of Vijayanand's sannyasa renunciation. 2 days after, Vijayanand received a letter from Madras informing that his mother was seriously ill. He came to Baba to take his permission to be at his mother's bedside during her last moments. Baba knew that such a step is spiritually ruinous both to Vijayanand and to the institution of sannyasa, and he wanted to save his devotee's soul above all, for he knew what was in the store for the unsuspecting devotee. Baba curtly said to him, "If you are so attached to your mother, why did you take the sannyas? Go and sit quiet at the Vada and wait for a few days with patience. In the Vada, there are many robbers, so bolt your doors and be vigilant. Thieves will carry away everything. Wealth is transient, and the body is subject to decay and death. Keeping this in mind, do your duty without attachment to this world and the next. He who thus surrenders himself to the Lord's will shall enjoy bliss. The Lord helps him who remembers him with love. Your store of past merits is great, and so you have come here. Remember what I said and begin the study of the Bhagavata from tomorrow. Do 3 saptahas, week long reading with devotion. The Lord will be pleased and you will attain peace. Vijayananda duly commenced reading of the Bhagavata in the solitude of Lendi. After 2 readings, he was exhausted, returned to the Vada, and on the third day he passed away, resting on Bade Baba's lap. Baba then told the people to preserve the body for 1 day before performing the last rites, and he proved wise. For the next day, the police turned up and, after inquiry into the death, found nothing amiss and allowed the people to bury the body. In retrospect, we have to note that the thief that Baba mentioned to Vijayananda was death. The senses in the 9 openings of man's body are the doors which Baba asked him to close either through yoga or devotion. For it is said in the Bhagavad Gita and other scriptures that a departing soul would attain that about which it thinks at the moment of death. So Baba prepared his soul to leave the body with his attention focused on the Lord. Else, Vijayananda would have died a lost soul, his heart fallen off from the ideal and duty of sannyasi, namely dispassion, and plunged in attachment to his mother and grief at her death. Further, Vijayananda died in the blessed presence of Sai Baba, which is incomparably better than dying at his home. Lala Lakshmi Chand, a clerk in Bombay office, had a strange dream on one night in October 1910. He saw an old bearded man standing surrounded by his devotees in a part of Santa Cruz area. Later, at Das Ganu's devotional singing at his friend's house, he recognized in Baba's portrait displayed there the saint that appeared to him in his dream. Hearing about Baba's powers, he decided to visit Shirdi at the earliest. At 8 p.m. the same day, his friend Shankar Rao called on him and asked him if he would accompany him to Shirdi. His joy knew no bounds. He at once borrowed 15 rupees from his cousin and started for Shirdi. Along the way, the two pilgrims did bhajan for some time and then, meeting some Muslims that lived near Shirdi, inquired of them about Baba. They told the two friends that Baba was really a great saint. When they arrived at Kopargaon, Lakshmi Chand wanted to purchase some gawas for Baba but soon forgot to take them. When their Tonga was nearing Shirdi, he remembered that he failed to buy gawas. In a few moments, he saw an old woman carrying gawas in basket on her head, and she came running after the tonga. When he stopped at the tonga and purchased some of the fruits, the woman gave him the rest of them and said, "Offer them to Baba on my behalf." He found her gesture a bit odd and thought that she was probably related to the old fakir. When they saw Baba at Masjid, the latter said, looking at Lakshmi Chand, "What a cunning fellow! He does bhajan on the way and yet inquires from others about me. Why ask others? We must see everything for ourselves. Just see whether your dream has come true or not. But why borrow money from a Marwadi friend for this trip? Are you now satisfied?" What a chain of mysterious coincidences which ultimately proved the deliberate design of the saint to get his devotee to him. H.P. Sathe had a Brahmin cook by name Megha, a pious youth who always chanted the Lord's name Namah Shivaya. Sathe once sent him to Baba. On the way, he was much distressed on knowing that the saint was a Muslim. Yet his master's counsel prevailed and he reached Shirdi. When he approached the masjid, Baba flew into a rage and cried out, "Kick out that rascal!" Pointing his finger at Megha, Baba said, "You are a high caste Brahmin and I am a Muslim. You will lose your caste by coming here. Get out." He wondered at Baba's omniscience, but his heart did not feel at ease at Shirdi, and so he left. But would Baba leave his lamb to stray? Megha again returned to Shirdi, and Baba silently helped him outgrow his inhibition. Megha came to believe that Sai Baba was the avatar of his chosen deity, Lord Shiva. Being traditional in his outlook, he insisted on worshipping Baba with bay leaves and bathing him in the holy water of the river Godavari. He used to fetch water from the river every day, walking 8 miles in all, and perform his worship. Megha used to worship all the deities in local shrines every day before worshipping Baba. One day he found the shrine of Kandoba still unopened, and so, after worshipping the rest of the village gods, went to Dwarka Mai to worship Baba. But Baba insisted on his worshipping Kandoba first and said that the shrine was by then opened by the priest. He went and found it so. This incident increased his faith in Baba and in the efficacy of following one method of worship assiduously. On the holy day of Makara Sankranti, the entry of sun in the sign of Capricorn on the 14th of January, Megha wanted to worship Baba by besmearing his body with sandal paste and then bathing him in the water of holy Godavari. Baba, who was at first unwilling, had to yield to his persistent appeals. When Megha brought the river water, Baba appealed to him to not bathe him, for as a fakir he is not expected to permit it. But to Megha, Baba was Shiva, and how else could he be worshipped? At last, Baba insisted that only his head be bathed and the body spared the ritual. Though verbally Megha agreed, when Baba sat on the bathing seat, he just poured the water from the pot all over Baba's body, uttering loudly the name of Lord Shiva, Hara Hara Mahadeva. But the next moment, he was amazed to see that only Baba's head was wet. Megha also worshipped Baba's photograph at his lodge every day. Early one morning, Megha was lying on his bed awake but with his eyes closed. Baba appeared clearly before his inner eye, threw akshatas, rice colored with turmeric, at him and said, "Megha, draw a trident." Then he disappeared. When he opened his eyes, there was no one and the doors were closed, but akshatas were seen strewn all about him. Megha later asked Baba whether he should really draw a trident. Baba said it was my direct order and my words are never uttered in vain. I need no doors to enter and I am everywhere. Returning to his lodging, Baba drew the figure of a trident on the wall and worshipped it. The very next day, a devotee from Pune gave a Shivlinga to Baba and he gave it to Megha saying, Lord Shiva has come to you, serve him. Just at that moment, Kaka Sahib Dikshit, who was chanting Sai's name at his lodge, had the vision of a beautiful Shivalinga, and in a few moments he saw Megha bringing the same from the Dwarka Mai. When Megha passed away in 1912, Baba passed his hands over the body and said, This was my true devotee. He wept like an ordinary mortal, and after covering Megha's body with flowers and joined the funeral procession, the obsequies were completed. Baba returned to the masjid and gave a funeral dinner to all at his own expenses. Pure devotion, we have seen in the case of Megha, craves for nothing but grace and it gets it. But grace is no grace if cannot correct some less mature attitudes of the devotees, and we can cite a few such instances in Baba's case. Pure devotion, we have seen in 1916 a party of four, a man, his wife, his daughter, and his sister in law, visited Shirdi on their way from Madras to Benares and stayed there for a few days. They belonged to Ramadasi sector. They heard that Sai Baba was a great saint and that he gave liberal gifts of money to those who sang devotional songs. They sang melodiously in Baba's presence, but all of them, except the wife, inwardly craved for gifts of money, but the wife wanted only Baba's grace. One day, Baba blessed her with a vision of her chosen deity, Lord Sri Rama in himself. When she recounted her experience to her husband, he did not believe it. Later one night, he had a dream vision. He was being tied hand and foot and put in a prison by the police. While Baba looked on, the man asked his protection. Baba said that he was only paying for a sin he might have committed the earlier in that life or in a previous one. The man requested Baba to burn out his sins by his power. Do you have such faith in my power? Asked Baba. And the man said that he had. Baba then asked him to close his eyes for a moment. When the man opened them again, he found himself free and the policeman dead. While he was rejoicing, Baba taunted him by saying, Now the officers will arrest you for this crime of killing the police. The man was desperate and he fell at Baba's feet crying, There is no one to save me except you. Baba asked him to close his eyes again for a moment and he was free. When he bowed to Baba in gratitude, Baba asked, Is there any difference between this bowing of your head in Namaskara and the previous ones? The man confessed that his earlier Namaskaras were done with a desire of for gifts of money, whereas the latest was expressive of his real faith in Baba's divinity. Besides, he said his earlier namaskaras were not hearty, for he then had a prejudice that Baba, being a Muslim, is unfit to be so bowed to. Baba then said, Do you not worship Muslim idols like the Panja, the Tabut, and the deity Kad Bibi? Why pretend that you have no faith in Muslim gods? The man confessed the truth of Baba's words and prayed that he be graced with the darshan of his guru Samarth Ramdas. Baba then asked him to turn back and see, and there stood the great saint Ramdas. When the saint disappeared, the man turned to Baba and said, Baba, you look old. How old are you? Baba replied, What? You say that I am old? Run with me, I shall see. And he started running. The man tried to overtake him, but Baba disappeared in the dust raised by his own feet. The dream was over. The dream had completely shattered the man's skepticism and faith in Baba sprouted in his heart. Next morning, when he went to Dwarka Mai, Baba gave him 2 rupees and some sweetmeats as prasad and blessed him. His craving for money was alchemized thereafter into craving for grace, and then the blessing was given by Baba. The large number of accounts we have considered should not create the false impression that all those that were so drawn to Baba and helped were only Hindus. There were a quite good number of Muslims who considered Baba a great Muslim saint and who were graced by him accordingly. Imam Bai Chote Khan of Aurangabad was once threatened with litigation and he went to Muslim saint named Darwish Shah who directed him to Shirdi and gave him some clues to confirm whether Baba was really a great awliya, literally means a friend of God. He told Iman Bhai to repeat the first chapter of the Quran silently behind Baba's back and not to accept gifts of money from him. When Imam Bhai saw Sai Baba, the latter was standing in a street and a lady taking his darshan. Quietly, Imam Bhai went and stood at a distance behind Baba and recited the said verse from the Quran silently. At once, Baba turned around and shouted at him, "Who are you? Why have you come to ask me about something as though you are my father?" and went on heaping foul abuse on him. When they went to Dwarka Mai, Baba did not allow Iman Bhai to step into it. When Kaka Sahib Dikshit interceded and said, "Baba, why are you angry with him?" Baba said, "Do you call him a child? He has beaten his master." That was a reference to what Iman Bhai did some time earlier as a policeman. He bet a Christian master who failed to give information in his investigation, and the master fell senseless, bleeding all over. The higher officer advised Iman Bhai to run away. So he resigned his job and ran up to Shirdi to escape the prosecution through Baba's grace. Noticing that Iman Bhai sincerely repented for his misdeeds, Baba touched his head and as a sign of blessing and said, "Do not fear, Allah Malik." Later, everything went off well to Iman Bhai. On a later visit, Baba did not permit him to return to his native village but said, "People should not go. If they go, there will be storms and balls of fire and lots of trouble." Iman Bhai could not grasp the significance of these words and was impatient to go home, so he started by walk. At about 5:30 p.m., he reached Vari, 12 miles from Shirdi. At sunset, as he walked along the banks of river Surala, the Patil, a village officer, warned him, "Do not go. The weather is cloudy. You will have trouble if you go." Iman Bhai thought that he could cover the remaining distance of 4 miles easily, but when he covered some 3 miles or so, there was a storm, and suddenly lightning and struck a huge peepal tree which he had just passed. The tree crashed and split into two, and Iman Bhai had to turn his gaze away from the blinding flash, and lo, he saw Sai Baba standing behind him. There were two tawny dogs with him. When Iman Bhai bowed to him, Sai Baba disappeared. Emboldened by this assurance of Baba's protection, he proceeded to wade through the river near his village. He was surprised to find the water knee deep all through. When he reached the other bank and turned round, he saw that actually the river was in spate, running high above the bank, that is 20 feet deep. Baba's words about the storm and balls of fire came true. Iman Bhai says, "Baba gave spiritual uplift to two Muslims that I know. Sheikh Abdullah of my village came here, that is to Shirdi. Baba spoke to him words of Vairagya, dispassion. If we die today, the third day would follow. What is the use of house, land, and the other things to us?" Sheikh Abdullah returned to our village. He left his house and property to his wife and children, wandered in the streets, and spent his nights near tombs, muttering something always. He lived upon what people gave him and did not care if he got nothing. He had developed wonderful powers during these 12 years. Once he asked me not to go on my journey, as at a particular place named by him on the path there would be a serpent. As it was daylight, I did not heed his warning, but I found the serpent exactly in the place named by him. Abbas Sage, a beedi seller of my place, once said to Abdullah, "Why do you behave like a madman giving up wife and relations?" Abdullah said, "You will come to know the same." Abdullah flung his closed fist as though he threw something at Abbas Sage and said, "You also become like that." From that time, the latter gave up his business, home, and relations and is still wandering about. In Bhopal of Varhat Behar, one Anwar Khan lived. Once he came to Baba and told him, "I do not want samsara." He lived in Chavdi here for 12 months. Baba then gave him mantra. Bismillah Kuliohio, Valka Firauno, Nabudo, Mabuduna, etc. from Quran and told him to repeat it 101 times at midnight. Then he was to recite Dawood. Baba then gave him prasad of Peda and told him to go to Baghdad in Arabia. He then went to Bombay where Haji Qasim of Bombay helped him with the free passes to Arabia. He never returned. He never returned thence. Hida Beg of Kanad near Aurangabad came to Baba and stayed here at Shirdi. Maulvi Yaqub of Delhi was here then, reading the Quran daily, sitting in the mandap front yard of the masjid during day and night. One night about 8 p.m., Baba told Hira Beg, "Do not stay here. Go to the cantonment near Kanad, that is Aurangabad, and change your name as Punjab Shah. Go and sit there. Eat what you get." He is still living there as a saint and people revere him. Muhammad Khan, a Rohilla of Nevasa, was here with Baba. Once he lifted the curtain to see Baba, who was talking to Mahalsapati, that is at night. Strange to say, he could not see Baba. He was getting queer and crazy. His younger brother, who was at Nevasa, came to Shirdi to take him. Baba gave Udi and sent him back, and then he became all right. One Madhu Shah, a fakir at Mehran in Khandesh, came to Shirdi at about 1913 and entreated Baba to give him 700 rupees for some urgent need of his. He cried and cried. Baba directed Bapu Sahib Jog to give him the money. He brought 700 all rupees, all in silver coins, and placed them before Baba. Baba told the two boys, Gulab, son of Kondaji, and Lakshman Baba, Borkar Shimpi, Lakshman Baba Borkar Shimpi, to give the money to the fakir who was seated in the mandap before him. The boys pocketed 200 rupees and delivered only 500 rupees to the visitor. The fakir wept and was grumbling for 2 or 3 days. Baba did nothing, so the man took Udi and went away on foot. Near Neemgaon, a Tonga came up and stopped before him. One Irusha, a Parsi working as a revenue officer in the Nizam state, alighted from the Tonga, gave him food and then 200 rupees, saying, "Are you content?" Then Irusha came to Shirdi and told all present that he had a dream in which Baba told him to go by Tanga to Shirdi and said that he would see a fakir near Nimgaon carrying a tiger skin, that he would feed the fakir as he would be hungry and hand him over 200 rupees, which is the balance of the money for which he was pining. So he came in a tanga with the food and money and gave the same to the fakir. A Muslim from Lasore in Nizam state came to Baba and cried, wanting 400 rupees or 500 rupees to meet some urgent need. Baba told him to go and sit under the banyan tree for stool, that a vessel full of coins will be found there. Next morning he went there and stumbled upon a very heavy vessel, evidently full of treasure. He could not lift it, and so he came to Baba at Chabdi. When he returned, it could not be traced, and the man cried. Baba said that one Ganu Kadu of Rui had carried it away, and so nothing could be done. That Ganu Kadu became a rich man. This Lasori went back in grief and poverty. While most of the devotees were willing to trust their welfare completely to Baba, there were some who tried to get what they thought was the best from him. And Baba had characteristic ways of teaching people that they should deserve what they ask for, even if it were the noblest end. Abdul Qadir visited Sai Baba in 1915 and stayed at Takia. One day, when Baba came there on his stroll, Qadir begged Baba to give him fakiri, that is, the inner state of true fakir or sadhu, as he wanted to become saint. Baba at first dissuaded him, but when he persisted, Baba flung his closed fist towards Qadir as though he was flinging something invisible at him. Thereafter, Kadir's manner and talk had completely changed. He gave moral advice to people and behaved like Baba, sometimes abusing them in veiled language. Sometimes picking up a stone, he threatened to throw it at someone. His manner grew more and more unmanageable. This went on for a month and half, and then Baba met him at the front yard of Dwarka Mai and saying, Lav Bale idhar, drew his closed fist towards himself as though he was taking back something from Kadir. At once, Kadir got back to his original state of mind. He stayed on for 2 more weeks at Shirdi and then, with Baba's permission, went to Pune, where he set up a beedi shop near Baba Jan's Margosa tree. Babajan was an old Muslim lady, a great saint, and the first guru of Sri Meher Baba. It is evident that Abdul Qadir was not yet ripe for what he had asked, and so Baba gave him a taste of it and took it away. The case of Kusha Babu illustrates how Baba drew some of the misdirected souls to himself and saved them from spiritual ruin. Kusha Babu found a guru in one Datta Maharaj who trained him in yogi. Kushabhavu found a guru in one Datta Maharaj who trained him in yoga. He used to press his guru to teach him black magic, which yields some lesser supernatural power. The guru has to yield to some extent and teach him certain mantras. Henceforth, Kushabhavu practiced the same intently and wore an iron bangle. He could utter a mantra and produce sweetmeats mysteriously out of nothing and distribute them to folks. He was forbidden from eating the same himself. When Kushabhavu was 22, his guru decided to retire into solitude in Himalayas and took him along up to Delhi. There he instructed his disciple to resort to Sai Baba of Shirdi as his elder. Kushabhavu accordingly visited Shirdi in 1888. On seeing him, Baba flew into rage and did not permit him to enter Dwarka Mai until he agreed to throw away the iron bangle and stop the mysterious transference of sweetmeats which amounted to the theft. After much inner conflict, Kushabhavu had to yield, for such was his guru's parting instruction. He threw away the iron bangle and stopped producing the sweets. He stayed at Shirdi and lived by begging. Baba ordered him to sit in a corner of the mosque and go on reading the Dasabodha of Samartha Ramadas during day. He spent 3 years at Shirdi and later went on visiting Baba often for the next 6 years. During that whole period of 9 years, Baba used to tell him often to see the person with 3 heads. Obviously, the reference was to Lord Dattatreya. Henceforth, Kushabhavu started visiting Gangapur, the holy place of Lord Datta. Once, on Baba's orders, he read the holy book Guru Charitra 108 times, taking 3 days for each reading. Then occurred an interesting incident. Kushabhavu was fasting on an Ekadasi day and Baba asked him what food he took on such a day. Kushabhavu said that he took kandamul, something like sweet potato. Baba deliberately distorted the pronunciation of the Sanskrit word as kanda, which in Marathi means onion. So Baba picked up an onion and asked Kushabhavu to eat it. The latter was in dilemma whether to obey tradition which forbade eating of onions or the Guru's word. At last, as a way out, he said to Baba, "If you eat it, I shall also eat." Then both of them ate the onions. When visitors arrived, Baba made fun of Kushabhavu, saying, "Look at this Bamniya," a belittling abbreviation of the word Brahmin. "He is eating onions on the holy Ekadasi day." Kushabhavu protested, saying, "Baba ate it and so I did." Baba categorically denied that he had eaten any onions. He said that he ate a sweet potato while Kushabhavu ate onions. To prove his contention, Baba at once vomited, and to the amazement of Kushabhavu, pieces of sweet potato fell from the Baba's mouth and there were no pieces of onion. Shrewd Kushabhavu regarded Baba's vomit as his prasad, consecrated food, and at once ate it. Baba tried to stop him through curses and kicks, but being a great sadhaka, Kushabhavu knew that by taking Guru's uchishta, that is, the leftover of a guru's meal as a prasad, a devotee automatically acquires the status of a disciple, which is above that of a devotee. It placed a moral binding on the guru to secure the high the highest good to his disciple, and Baba scrupulously avoided accepting anyone as his disciple, but Kushabhavu made himself one. This is not matter of mere shrewdness, but it is the shrewdness born of unbounded love for and faith in Guru as God himself. He says, Baba abused me, kicked me, and bet me, but I did not mind all this in the least, as I was overjoyed of at having got his Uchishtha as Prasad. I also knew that as with Akkalkot Maharaj, so with Baba, his beating and abuse were auspicious and beneficial. In an instant, Baba's mood changed. His anger, real or pretended, gave way to warm appreciation of my unquestioning faith in him, and he lovingly placed his hand on my head and blessed me. He said that I would henceforth have the power by barely thinking of him and holding up my palms to pour abundance of Udi from my palms. This miraculously produced Udi could be distributed by me to those who have faith and want prasad from me, and it would remove troubles. This power was at once vested in me and did not require any japa on my part. The power of producing Udi which I have got is communicable by me, but the would-be recipient of the power would have to undergo a rigorous course of an austere discipline, like, for instance, 6 months of sexual abstinence. The production of this Udi is not the result of any mantra, but is the result merely of remembering Sai Baba. The pedas I produced were merely fetched, that is, transferred from elsewhere. That power did not include the production at will of Udi. Now it is the production of Udi by thinking of Sai. Formerly, it was merely transferring pedas from one place to another. The implications are evident. The production of Pedas was a power that he squeezed from his guru's unwilling acquiescence to his demands, and was intended to win fame for himself, and thus it boosted his ego. Besides, its distribution meant distribution of stolen things which polluted the unsuspecting recipients. The production of Udi was won by humility and faith in Baba, and every remembrance of Baba that had to precede its production made Kushabhavu remember that he was but a humble medium of Baba's blessing, and thus it strengthened his humility and faith in the saint. It also healed the sick, and thus won the hearts of recipients to faith in Baba, a world of difference indeed. There is another case of a man asking Baba for something that he was totally unfit to have, and Baba's sense of humor is answering him is wonderful. Sorry. And Baba's sense of humor in answering him is wonderful. A man amassed as a lot of wealth and owned many houses and much landed property. Once he had a fancy to complete his achievements by tasting Brahmagyana, that is perfect enlightenment. He heard that a great saint named Sai Baba was capable of bestowing on anyone that asked for it, and he wanted to visit Baba in this connection. When he confided his plans to a close friend of his, the latter frankly told him the truth. What you are going to ask of Baba is not such a simple thing which a man like you, whose heart is wedded to wealth and women, can ever dream of getting. But one day he saw Baba and said, Baba, hearing that you show Brahman to all those that resort to you for the same, I have come all the way for it. Baba replied, O friend, all the people that come to me ask for money, health and children. Rare is a person like you who wants nothing else than the highest spiritual realization, which I am most anxious to give to my devotees. I shall soon grant you the experience of Brahman. Then Baba managed to engage him with other conversation and make him lose sight of the object of his arrival at Shirdi. Then he called a boy and told him to get a hand loan of 5 rupees from one Nandu Marwadi. The boy soon returned empty-handed and said that the man was away from his home. Baba then sent him to a grocer named Bala and later to a few others, but with the same result. The seeker after Brahmagyana grew restless, and Baba said, Oh friend, did you not understand that all the while I was trying to show you Brahman? For seeing Brahman, one has to surrender 5 things to the Lord. 1. The 5 pranas. 2. The 5 senses, mind, intellect and ego. The path of Brahmagnana is as hard as to tread as the sharp edge of the razor. The point of this whole episode is brought out by a similar experience of another devotee. He asked Baba to show him God. Then Baba sent a boy to Bakchand Marwadi for a loan of 100 rupees, but the boy returned and reported that the Marwadi had no money and that he wanted his namaskaras to be conveyed to Baba instead. Then Baba sent the boy to another money lender, but the response was the same. Then Baba sent for Nana Chandorkar and asked for 100 rupees. Nana sent a chit to Bakchand Marwadi, who at once sent the amount. Nana said to the visitor who wanted to be shown God, "Everything is just like this in this world." When Baba sent for the money, it was not forthcoming, for Baba was a fakir and the money lender was afraid that the amount may not be repaid. When Nana, a big officer, wanted, it was promptly sent. One must deserve before one can ask for anything, and that was Baba's lesson. In the case of the earlier rich man who wanted to see Brahman, though he had lots of money in his pocket, he did not offer to give the meager amount of 5 rupees for which Baba had been repeatedly sending the boy, but kept looking on as though he had no money. And how can such a slave of money hope to get Brahmagnana? Baba had just demonstrated the famous saying of Jesus Christ that no man can serve two masters, God and Mammon. Once a venerable old Muslim, Sadiq Falke by name, came from Kalyan to seek Baba's blessings. He visited Makkah and Medina and was proud of it. Once a venerable old Muslim, Siddiq Falke by name, came from Kalyan to seek Baba's blessings. He visited Makkah and Medina and was proud of it. He probably expected Baba to recognize him of his own accord. So he lived in the Chavdi and at times sat in the open courtyard of the mosque. Baba ignored him completely for 9 long months. To the utter amazement of all, Baba never allowed him even to climb the steps of mosque. At last, Falke requested Shama to intercede with Baba for him. On a convenient occasion, Shama said, "Baba, why do you drive out the good old Haji from the mosque while you allow so many others to come to you freely? Why not show mercy on him and bless him?" Baba replied, "Shama, you are too young to understand these things. If the fakir does not allow, what can I do? Without his grace, who can even enter the mosque?" Shama still pleaded for consideration for Siddiq Falke. Baba finally said, "Well, go to the Haji and ask him whether he will come to the narrow footpath near the Barvi well." Shama went and conveyed the same to the old man. The old man said that he was ready to do so. Baba said, "Ask him whether he is willing to pay me the sum of 40,000 rupees in 4 installments." Again, the Haji conveyed his willingness to pay even 4 lakhs. Baba again said, "We are going to cut goat in the masjid. So ask him whether he would like to have mutton, haunch, or testicles of the goat." The Haji replied that he would be happy to receive even a crumb from Baba's earthen pot. On hearing the Haji's reply, Baba flared up with his own hands, threw out all the pots in the mosque, walked towards Haji and shouted at him, "Why do you brag and fancy yourself great and parade yourself as a Haji? Do you read the Holy Quran like this? You are proud of your pilgrimage to Makkah, but you do not know me." Leaving the Haji amazed at his behavior, Baba went back to mosque, purchased a basket full of mangoes and sent them to Haji. Then Baba took out 55 rupees from his pocket and gave him the money. Henceforth, the Haji could visit the mosque freely. Sagunamir Naik lived in Goa when he was 10 or 12 years old. Every day he used to take the cattle for grazing. On one such occasion, he saw a sadhu who beckoned to him. The boy was frightened and ran home and told his mother of what happened. The pious lady looked on all sadhus as the forms of Lord Dattatreya. She accompanied her son to the place where the sadhu was. The sadhu asked her for food. The lady gave him sida, a kind of gram, and firewood for cooking it. Then he signed to young Sagunameru and asked him, "When are you coming?" Sagun did not reply. The sadhu smiled and left the place. 6 years after, Sagun came to Belgaum for doing business and stayed there for 7 years. Then a devotee of Lord Dattatreya by name Dattopant became his friend and attracted Sagun to the spiritual path. After some time, Sagun wanted to go on a pilgrimage to Narsobawadi, a famous Dattasthan. There he had the good fortune of meeting the famous saint and devotee of Lord Dattatreya, Sri Tembe Swami Maharaj. The saint, when he saw Sagun, said to him, "You are the man of a great darbar. What more should I tell you?" Sagun could not understand the significance of these words at that time. 2 or 3 years afterwards, Sagun went to Hyderabad and was introduced to one Seth who was a devotee of Sai Baba. He took Sagun to Shirdi along with him in 1912. Baba was returning to the mosque after his usual walk to Lendi and met them on the way. A large group of people who were following Sai Baba addressed Sagun in Kannada. "Whence do you come? What do you want?" Sagun could not reply. For 2 or 3 days, Sagun felt a strong urge to return to Hyderabad, so he sought Baba's permission. Baba kept quiet and Sagun had to stay away. On the fifth day, Baba told him that his mind was still wavering. Then he recalled the event of his early days. "You don't seem to remember my coming to your place. You were young and brought cows to the tank when I saw you. Your mother gave me sida and firewood. Do you remember now?" Sagun vividly remembered what had happened 14 years earlier. He then experienced an outburst of faith in and love for Baba and sat gazing fixedly at him. Baba smiled and said, "Why do you stare at me like a madman? Our parents are here and we must stay here. You look after me and I will look after you." Henceforth, Sagun stayed away at Shirdi running a hotel and he wanted nothing. He then realized why Sri Tembe Swamiji Maharaj said that he was the man of a great darbar and what the sadhu meant when he said 14 years earlier, "When are you coming to me?" Sagun's hotel was situated just opposite the place where pilgrims to Shirdi alighted. One such pilgrim was Tendulkar from Betul district. After taking bath, he had darshan of Sai Baba in Masjid and he invited Baba to lunch with him. Baba smiled and kept quiet. This went on for 4 or 5 days, and every day Tendulkar ordered 2 meals, ate one, and asked Shagun to keep one covered up. One night at 10 o'clock, Sagun was cleaning his vessels for milking his cows. A sadhu approached him and said, "Give me the meal kept for me." Sagun was a little surprised at his demand but served him cheerfully from what was kept covered up. After finishing his dinner, he said, "Call the man who ordered this for me." Sagun sent for Tendulkar, but he was sleeping soundly and did not wake up. "Let it be," said the sadhu. "I belong to the Nath tradition. Be feeding the hungry like this. Good God will do you good." All the devotees of Sai at Shirdi came to know of this incident. Shama asked Baba whether he went to Sagun for meal the previous night. Baba smiled and said, "I ate and returned. If anyone comes to us for food, we should not turn him away. If we have nothing to give, at least a little jaggery should be given." Jai Sai Master.